Welcome back everyone to another episode on stock review. Previously, remember I did one stock review which is for Visa card. Today we'll be looking at Mastercard. So Mastercard and Visa card is kind of similar, whereby if you look at your debits or your credit cards, you can actually observe there will be either a Visa logo or a Mastercard logo. So it depends on which bank you use and what the services the bank chooses over. So without further ado, let's get right into the analysis. Over here, we have the price of the Mastercard. It's actually sitting at all-time high. Quite tempting for me to wanting to just go into the long-term holding for this investment. But there will be some discussion whereby is it better to hold Mastercard or Visa? Well, there are certain explanation as well as discussion being made, but at the end of the day, all this decision is truly based on how well are you being able to know between the difference of these two company and what is your take and which one you actually prefer. And also the best case scenario is whereby if your portfolio has larger capital, you can afford to hold both of them. I do think that holding both of them is actually one of the very great strategies to do. But if you are someone like me with small capitals, it's actually wise for us to discuss which option do we go for. But ultimately, both of these companies are very high quality mode, whereby in the long run, I believe the company will be able to generate profits. And in terms of demand, credit cards, debit cards, mostly what you will observe is both of these logo. So these two companies will exist as long as there are financing in the world and as long as people are using financial services for transactions as well as purchasing power. So I do believe that in the future, these two companies will strive better and continuously being able to provide that demands as well as to meet they'll be able to provide supplies to meet those demands in the financial market. So without further ado, let's get right into the financial status. Over here we have the revenue of Mastercard. Quarterly result is in an increasing form, very high predictability. Is for the net income is also similarly with high predictability and also increasing net income, signifying the company being able to provide and generate profits. Moving on to the free cash flow of Mastercard is also in a very increasing form, signifying the strength of company to generate positive cash flow every year. So what does Mastercard do is that its payment network, the fintech infrastructure company, they does not issue credit card itself, but done by banks, but operates the network that process the transactions. Their revenue streams will include the payment network, so which is the core, the bulk comes from the transaction processing and access tied to the volume of transactions. They also have cross-border fee, which is fees on international transaction, value added service VAS, data analytics, cybersecurity, consulting, loyalty, identity, open banking, etc. according to one analysis. So this VAS accounted for 38.5% of its net revenue, and other net revenue includes the fees for fraud products, program management, as well as consulting. So there are three strengths for Mastercard. First is going to be the global network and brand strength. Second of all is the diversified revenue via value-added services. So they are actually pushing growth in VAS, the cybersecurity intelligence, data analytics, and consulting, which gives higher margin and deeper client relationship. So this will result in a stickier situation whereby when the client uses the VSS, it's actually hard for them to switch or they are less likely to leave. And thirdly, it's going to be their innovation, which significantly invests in AI, fraud detections, and secure payments, which is more towards the side of cybersecurity. So the three weaknesses of Mastercard is the regulatory risk. So as a global network, Mastercard face scrutiny in many regions, interchange fee regulations, and antitrust. Second, dependence on partners such as bank because they don't issue cards. It relies on banks to issue cards. They just handle the transactions, the international transaction fees, and so on. Third is the currency, whereby it's a significant portion of revenue is cross-border. Currency fluctuation can cause impacts on their earning. Now we'll be moving on to discussing Mastercard or Visa, which is a better option for you to invest in terms of long term. Okay, this is a very specific case. As I mentioned, if you are able to buy both, why not just buy both? But then in case of you really want to choose between one because you don't want the redundancy of holding two similar stocks that provide same services in this sector, well, you might want to consider a few things. So first of all, this that as we mentioned, Mastercard is pushing their VSS, whereby they will try to use AI and for their cybersecurity, fraud protections, and so on. As for Visa, they are more scaled. Their network is extremely large. They are very stable in terms of their revenue and net income. And Mastercard is on the side whereby they are doing well. It's just that they are having that space or more potential in growing further compared to Visa, as well as the one of the things that drive Mastercard being in that attractive option is due to the fact that they are pushing AI services as well as fraud protections to improve their cybersecurity, which can be seen as a potential growth in the future. If this works, it might actually brings back more cash as well as profits for the company. So here over the suggestion from the AI, it says investment consideration. If you want strong growth potential, Mastercard, because of its push into VAS, which could result in higher profit margin as well as stickiness or pricing power as well. So people will be less likely or it will be having more costs in order to switch from Mastercards to Visa. But if you prefer stability, seen results with very strong existing result, Visa is a choice to go. So risk factor to watch for both is going to be at the same time currency rates, the regulatory antitrust, as well as the macroeconomic risks. So lastly, we'll be looking at their ratios. Looking at the profit margins, which I believe is very good value. They will be able to provide above 30% of the profit margin, which is significantly great. As for their balance sheets, they have total current assets of 23,000, total current liability of 20,000. So being able to cover up nicely for the current liabilities. As for their net cash is in a negative form, meaning that they have more debts than their cash. In terms of ratio, the PE ratio is as 34, which is slightly overvalued, but it's kind of fair enough. As for their PB ratio, it's also quite higher than medium, so signifying the price is also very expensive to buy at this level. With debt equity ratio at 2, a very dangerous spot whereby more debts than their cash, as well as ROE, with increasing ROE above 15%, 10 times more, and also ROIC increasing higher than with 43%. By looking at the data, you can actually observe that Visa is being able to provide more in terms of revenue, higher revenue, and as well as their net income. So this is just the value in terms of their net income and so on, but also for the profit margins, it's also higher than their 45 level and also at 50 or 49 so on. As for the ratio, Visa being able to achieve debt to equity ratio lower than 1. So it's significantly lower compared to the Mastercard, meaning that they have more cash than debts. However, for the ROE and ROIC is rather significantly lower compared to the Mastercard. Finally, we'll be looking at the economy mode score for Mastercard. Grew focus at 9 out of 10 at a wide mode. Seeking Alpha does not have a single mode, but describe Mastercard as having a wide mode. Morningstar, Mastercard is typically considered as a wide mode, and also by the GBT, it's actually having it as a white mode with the score 9 out of 10. So overall, would I invest in Mastercard or Visa? Well, I do have to acknowledge that both companies are high quality companies. White mode, increasing revenue, increasing net income, increasing ROIC, ROE, as well as higher current assets than their current liabilities, as well as positive cash flow. So both of this company is a very good profit generating machine. However, there are one concerns whereby Mastercard has more debts with higher debt to equity ratio above 1, whereby the Visa is more stable, more cash than the debts, with debt to equity ratio below 1, but also sitting above 0.5. But in terms of which types of investor you are, will determine which is a better option for you, because I couldn't decide it for you due to the fact that if I really want growth, Mastercard can be one of a potential great to go because it has more space in terms of growth, as well as Mastercard trying to push their VAS, which sounds pretty cool, as well as can be a potential growth in terms of their revenue and net income. Whereas if you want stability and constant growth, Visa is actually a way to go, as the result already exists over there. However, I do think that either way, both companies are pretty solid for long-term investment. So I guess that is all for today's video. If you are interested, you can do the comparison yourself, and I really do highly suggest that you do your own research on these two companies before making any decisions. Because at the end of the day, maybe Mastercard and Visa both are not your choice. Maybe American Express is your way to go. So there will be other options, and depending on what risk appetite you have, or would you rather have growth, maybe Mastercard is a go, or you want a stable holding, Visa card is a go. But that really depends on how you feel and which one can you afford. Simple. So I guess that is all for today's video. I hope to see you on the next one. Goodbye.